What about like? Do you think steroids are blown out of proportion in terms of like what effects that they do have, like the negative side effects?
I'd say blown out of proportion. Yes, I'm not going to deny there is obviously health implications from running steroids. They're not good for you. But if you're smart and if you're regularly getting your bloods taken and checking where you're at and adjusting things to suit and adding certain health supplements to help, and obviously if there's a big issue, then you need to fucking stop and fix that issue. It depends. But some people are just dumb and they just fucking go on blindly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Have you ever had any issues like that yourself?
Not really. I've had a couple of times where the liver's been slightly out, but then the difference in your liver being slightly out and your liver being out enough where they consider it actually an issue apparently is quite different. But then all I did was add a little bit of Tudka in for a few weeks. Bloods got redone and my liver was back in range.
What did you add in?
Tudka.
Tudka?
Aye.
What's that?
Just a health supplement for your... I don't know where it comes from, but...
I've never heard that one before. You remember milk thistle years ago?
Milk thistle's useless.
Is it?
So it's Tudka is what helps that.
And what about like these things with alcohol?
What do you mean? As in...
Like if you... I imagine if... was it called halotestin?
Yes.
Halotestin it and somebody on vodka Red Bull. What a fucking cocktail that would be.
I mean, I'd say if that's what you're doing, you're pretty fucking dumb. I don't really drink much these days, and I think if you're going to drink when you're on cycle, it's not really a great idea because you're already doing something that's potentially putting your liver values out, and then you're putting in alcohol, which is a bit of a stress on everything, really. Like even like it'll fuck up your digestion, etc., for a bit of time as well.
What about the sort of cost, like in terms of the financial cost of doing all the stuff that you're doing? I mean, it can't be cheap.
It's not cheap, no. It obviously it depends what you're running as well. Like in a prep, it is expensive. Like especially if you're running growth hormone, and the later into your prep you get, you're adding more and more compounds in. It does get quite expensive. Plus, you've got on top of the drugs, you've got your supplements, your proteins, and then your health supplements on top. Well, you're trying to contain the effects of the steroids.
What kind of cost is it? To like, what have you ever worked out?
Well, I pay for my bits monthly, basically, and my bill is typically £400 or £500 a month, probably.
It's not outrageous, but I mean, it's certainly a reasonable hobby expenditure. Like, is that just for your supplements? Or is that like the food as well? Your food can't include your food.
Not including food. That's literally just like my bill of supplements and pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
But that's wild.
I mean, it can range though, because there's also been months where I've added it up and I've been closer to £600. It might depend what I've run out of each month, you know what I mean? Especially if there's a month where I've had to buy growth. Mm-hmm. It depends what growth you're buying as well. Like the pharmaceutical stuff's fucking wildly expensive.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that makes a big difference?
Growth or pharmaceutical growth? Growth is, in my opinion, it's not what people think it's going to be. Everybody thinks I'm going to take growth, I'm going to get fucking massive. But you're not. Like growth, when you're in an off season, growth will enable you to stay a little bit leaner for longer, which means you can obviously push your food higher for a little bit longer. And when you're in like a contest prep, it will help you lean out a little bit, and it will keep you a little bit fuller as you lean out. But I don't know personally if I really think it's that worth it.
The whole thing was always about, you know, the idea with growth was that it would convert to IGF-1. That's when the guys moved to insulin. Insulin's a whole different kettle of fish in terms of its application and dangers. Because I mean, what's the big side effect with growth hormone? You know, you get a bit of acromegaly, you know, the enlargement of the feet, skull, you know, eyebrows. You know, if you're really, really pushing it, insulin's a very, very different ball game. You know, you push that, you're in a box.
Well, you got to really fuck up with insulin, to be fair, to end up dead, I think. I do use insulin. Don't use much of it in a fat loss phase. It more comes when I'm refeeding and in the off season. But if you're going to run insulin, you've got to have worked out how much carbs you're putting in to how much insulin you're going to run, if you know what I mean. So you're avoiding the high pose.
That needs to be very, very thought out.
You can't just go, I'll just do fucking 10 IUs a day. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be worked out to the amount of carbs that you've got.
And I take it timing's important as well, like your food to when you're doing it.
Well, you get fast-acting insulin and you get long-acting insulin. So your Lantus is your long-acting insulin that you would just have in the morning,
right?
And that does you throughout the day. Your fast-acting stuff is obviously a bit more sketchy for your timings.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't want to take that first thing in the morning before you have your meal.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, you want to have it maybe like halfway through your meal. You've got a bit of food in you first. So you don't generally use the fast-acting stuff in the morning. I just use it pre and post workout.
And did you find that a big difference?
No. I think for me, the big thing with insulin is when the food is really high, your body needs that help from insulin.
Right.
But I don't, again, people think insulin is going to make me massive, but also if you use insulin and you don't eat right, it'll just make you fat.
Fat?
Your insulin's fat storing as well. So if you're going to take insulin and eat shit, you will get fat faster.
Eat shit as in you're eating junk?
Aye.
Right.
Or if you're overeating as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? You will get fat.
Seems like it's something that needs to be a lot more thought out than other stuff.
Insulin is most definitely not for a beginner, and it's not. I've obviously only ever used insulin under the guidance of my coach. He tells me how much to take, he tells me how much food to eat.